All right, guys. So today is final leg day leading into show number one. For this leg day, we are not going to do top sets. So our goal here is going to be basically working up to about 1 to 2 reps in reserve. Majority of the workout is isolation movements. There's not a lot of compound movements. I actually had to ask to be able to do a compound movement. So I'll be adding one top set on leg presses, and that's it today. But today, what we'll start with is we'll get hamstrings warmed up. So we'll do some single leg kneeling curls first. Then we'll go from there into a little bit of quad extensions just to warm my knees up. Then we'll do the leg press, then seated leg curl, then hip extension, and then finish with some calves. So it's a pretty easy workout today. Again, the goal here is not to kind of destroy the body by any means. The goal is just to actually get some blood in the tissue, move some food around, and go from there. From a prep standpoint, the last 2 days, we've actually brought food back up. So we're about 3,300 calories a day right now, about 400 grams of carbs, somewhere in that area. After the first day of doing that, weight kind of held steady at about 214. But then yesterday I ended up taking the day off from lifting, so I had no lifting at all. We took out the cardio yesterday. We just did 10,000 steps. And by doing that, weight went up about 1.5 pounds today from yesterday. So the goal is basically just to slowly and steadily fill me up. For anybody that's seen me before, typically when I'm pretty lean, my metabolism kicks up pretty fast. And so the more we feed, typically the faster my metabolism goes. So we're taking a little bit of a different approach this time around, and we're loading slowly going into the show. Since the weight cap is 225, and since my weight really, even with at the end of the day, has only been hovering right around like 217 to 219. So we can continue to fill at this rate. If we can go up by about 1 pound or so a day, that'll probably be ideal. Now, we don't necessarily know what's going to happen today with doing leg day and the 10,000 step goal, but we'll see and then adjust accordingly. If my weight this evening after my last meal is lower than it was yesterday after my last meal, then we'll go ahead and bump and add another meal in to end out the day, just to make sure we're continuing to kind of fill out as we go through the process. We've still got a ways to go to get me like filled out, but body's starting to come back to life. My brain's starting to work a little bit better. So, we're moving in the right direction. And most likely what will end up happening is sometime earlier in the week, we'll push food a little bit harder just to fill me out. And then as we get closer to show day, we'll pull food back so that my stomach isn't distended. But we have a full, dry, grainy look, which is what we're gonna be going for TCO. And this will kind of give us an idea of what it's gonna look like when we go into USAs after 2 weeks after TCO this coming weekend. So we've got a little bit of time to really kind of dial things in, figure out exactly how my body responds and what our best look is. And so that's kind of what we're doing this week. Outside of that, water is at about 8 liters a day, which is a lot of water. If you haven't had 8 liters of water, try having 8 liters of water. You'll be peeing all the time. But outside of that, sodium stayed about the same, water's the same, and we're just kind of pushing, like I said, the food at about 3,300 calories a day, just to see the body's response. And yeah, so come and join me for the last leg day, and we'll go from there. Tempo's a little bit different here. So I'm a neurological lifter. I'm a very strong lifter when it comes down to the weights that I move. So in order to kind of mitigate risk of injury, the guy who programs for me has kind of made my tempo suck. So these are 5-second eccentrics, so 5-second elongation of the muscle tissue, and then no pause at the bottom, and then a 1-second pause at the top of the rep. But the goal here is to really control that eccentric as much as possible and put tension on the muscle tissue as we're going through a lengthened position. So that's one way to make your lifts a lot harder. is slowing down that eccentric and or just tempo in general in order to make the weights harder and not have to necessarily go as heavy. One note I want to make here, for those of you that lift in any gym, even when I'm in contest prep, I re-rack my weights. So maybe you should be doing the same. So, like I said, working up to kind of a harder set, leaving 1 to 2 reps in reserve. Pretty much the theme of the day, is that's how it's going to go all day today here. So, that was single leg curls. I might work in with Josh here on leg extensions. This is Josh. Okay, cool.
I wiped it off too, so
you're good. You're good. So we'll do work up to basically, again, a harder set of leg extensions, warm my knees up. Then we'll go into the leg presses after this one. So we'll just work up to a hard set of like 8 to 10 reps, somewhere in that area. Again, just to get some blood into the quads here and into my knees. So, real quick tip here, because I see people mess this up all the time. When you're setting up your leg extension, make sure for your seat, that your seat is far enough back, that actually the back of your knee should actually be touching the end of this. What I see a lot is people are too far forward, and therefore their knees actually further out in front of the seat than it needs to be. So the cue should be just thinking about feeling that seat behind your knee when you set this up, so that you're actually focusing more so on keeping that joint in a fixed position as you extend out. And the other thing that you'll see is I pull myself down into the seat, so that way as I extend, I'm able to think about pulling that muscle tissue all the way up without using my butt or using momentum from anywhere else. So just contraction on those quads as we do the extensions here. Just a leg press. One concept that kind of want to get across to everybody is, and probably something that I don't like using with a lot of my athletes, is the concept of reps in reserve, because majority of people don't know their limits, and majority of people don't understand proximity to failure when it comes to training. But that last set you just saw, in my opinion, would be like a 2 reps in reserve, in the aspect that the movement was starting to break a little bit at the end there, and my concentric pressing out was slowing down enough that I knew if I went for 1 or 2 more reps, it would be to failure. So that's why we stopped where we stopped, because I'm doing what, you know, I'm asked to do and not go to failure, which is not my norm. So it's not fun for me, but I also understand the reason being that we don't really need a lot of damage right now. We're not building tissue anymore. We're just trying to get a stimulus into the legs for this week. So, and then the other reason why I used knee wraps is more so just to support the joint, because in such a lean state, the last thing I want to do is open the door for injury. So I just wrap my knees just to give that extra support on these leg presses. But that's the one compound movement I get today, and that'd be the top set, leaving about 2 reps in reserve to finish out that portion of that movement. So that's how I get a lot of my steps in on my leg day, just walking around, re-racking weights. And the sad part is, this is actually light for me, so it's a little less steps than normal, but now we will go seated hamstring curl. If you don't have this piece in your gym, I'm sorry. It's probably one of my favorite leg curls ever made by Flex Fitness, called a ham tractor. I actually searched 4 years to try to find this piece because they're just very rare and hard to find. But I like this one simply because if you set the seat up right in that fully extended position, you got tension even beyond like full extension, or full extension, the elongation of that hamstring. So it sets you into a position where you're fully stretched at the top of the rep and then fully contracted at the bottom. So we'll do this, 2 sets here, 1 top set, and then we'll do some 45-degree hip extensions, working hamstrings and glutes from more of a lengthened position, and then calves. So we're almost done. Rep here, 25 reps is what we're going for, just 2 sets. Again, on these, big thing is this hip drive, so I'm not actually trying to get the lower back. If you watch, I'll keep my abs braced down. I'm actually like ab crunching the whole time. as I drive my hips forward. So all I'm pulling with is glutes and hamstrings. I don't even feel my lower back at all. And that's the goal of this. It's not a hyperextension, it's a 45-degree hip extension. So our goal is, as you come down, you're thinking about letting that stretch happen at your hips, coming all the way down to the point where you got full elongation of hamstrings and full pushback of hips. And then when we drive up, think about driving, pulling through your heels, and then driving your hips into the bench and getting full contraction in glutes and hamstrings at the top of the rep without going into your lower back. That's all she wrote, folks. That's leg day for you. And again, done in about an hour. So, don't need to spend that much time in here. Just do the work,